214 BC, the Roman Republic, locked in a desperate struggle with Hannibal, turned its gaze to a new prize, the wealthy Greek city-state of Syracuse in Sicily. Led by the seasoned General Marcus Claudius Marcellus, a massive Roman army and a fleet of over 100 warships arrived, expecting a swift and decisive victory. Syracuse was rich, yes, but it was just one city. Rome was a superpower. The campaign should have been over in weeks, but the Romans were about to learn a terrifying lesson. They weren't just besieging a city. They were laying siege to the mind of one of the greatest geniuses in human history, Archimedes. The people of Syracuse were terrified. The sight of the Roman legions setting up camp and the quinquiremes blocking their harbor was enough to make anyone's blood run cold. They pleaded with their king, Hieronymus, to surrender. But their king had another plan. He turned to a 75-year-old man, a man more interested in geometry and physics than warfare. He turned to Archimedes. Archimedes, initially reluctant, understood the gravity of the situation. He agreed to defend his home, and in doing so, he would unleash a technological nightmare upon the most powerful army in the world. Marcellus ordered the first assault. From the sea, he brought forth the Sambuca, a colossal siege tower mounted across the ships, designed to drop soldiers directly onto the city walls. From land, his legionaries advanced with ladders and battering rams. It was a classic, brutal Roman assault. But as they neared the walls, chaos erupted. Giant cranes, seemingly appearing from nowhere, swung massive iron hooks out over the water. These were the legendary claws of Archimedes. They would grab the prows of Roman ships, lift them clear out of the water, sometimes vertically, and then abruptly release them. The ships would either capsize instantly or crash back into the sea, splintering and sinking, taking their terrified crews with them. The Roman sailors were in a state of pure panic. They were being attacked by monsters. For the soldiers on land, the ordeal was no less horrifying. As they tried to scale the walls, massive beams would swing out and smash their ladders to pieces. Huge stones, launched by powerful catapults Archimedes had designed, rained down on their formations, crushing men and equipment alike. These weren't just standard catapults. Archimedes had calibrated them for range and power with terrifying precision. Some were designed for long-range bombardment, while smaller, faster-firing scorpions were hidden in loopholes in the walls, riddling any Roman who got too close with a deadly hail of projectiles. The Roman soldiers, known for their discipline and bravery, broke and fled. Marcellus, watching from his command ship, could only stare in disbelief. He famously joked, with a touch of gallows humor, "Shall we not cease warring against this geometrical giant, who uses our ships like ladles to scoop up the sea?" The initial assaults were a complete and utter disaster for Rome. Marcellus realized that a direct attack was suicide. The psychological impact of Archimedes' inventions was devastating. Roman soldiers became so paranoid that if they saw so much as a piece of rope or a beam of wood appear over the walls, they would turn and run shouting that Archimedes was about to unleash another machine on them. A single old man had single-handedly broken the morale of the mighty Roman army. Marcellus was forced to change tactics. He settled in for a long, grueling blockade, hoping to starve the city into submission. He thought that time was on his side. He was wrong. For months, the stalemate continued. The Romans controlled the land and sea around Syracuse, but they dared not approach the walls. Life inside the city was difficult, but Archimedes' genius had bought them precious time. He had transformed the city's defense from a simple matter of stone and steel into a symphony of physics and engineering. The legend of his death ray is perhaps the most famous tale from the siege. The story goes that he used an array of polished bronze shields, or large mirrors, to focus sunlight onto the Roman ships, setting their wooden hulls on fire from a distance. While modern experiments have debated the practical feasibility of this weapon, the fact that the story exists at all speaks volumes about the sheer terror and awe Archimedes inspired. To the Romans, it seemed like he could command the very elements against them. But even a genius like Archimedes couldn't change the political realities of war. The siege dragged on for over 2 years. The weakness wasn't the walls or the machines. It was human betrayal. In 12 BC, during a religious festival, the people of Syracuse let their guard down. A pro-Roman faction within the city secretly opened a gate, allowing a small party of Roman soldiers to slip inside under the cover of night. Once inside, they rushed to open the main gates, and the full weight of the Roman legions finally poured into the city that had defied them for so long. The fall of Syracuse was brutal. The Romans, frustrated and humiliated by the long siege, showed little mercy. They sacked the city, plundering its vast wealth and enslaving its people. In the midst of this chaos, General Marcellus gave a specific order. Archimedes was to be captured alive. Marcellus held a deep, grudging respect for the man who had outsmarted him at every turn. He wanted to meet this geometrical giant face to face. A Roman soldier was dispatched to find him. He found Archimedes not in a workshop or a fortress, but in his study, completely oblivious to the chaos outside. He was hunched over a diagram drawn in the sand on the floor, deeply engrossed in a mathematical problem. The soldier, likely impatient and not realizing who he was, ordered Archimedes to follow him to see Marcellus. Archimedes, annoyed at the interruption, waved him away, famously saying, "Do not disturb my circles." Enraged by this defiance, the soldier drew his sword and killed the 75-year-old genius on the spot. When Marcellus heard the news, he was said to be deeply saddened and angered. He had been denied his meeting with the man who had held the might of Rome at bay. With nothing but his intellect, he gave Archimedes an honorable burial and even looked after his surviving relatives. The siege of Syracuse was over. Rome had won, but the victory was forever tainted by the senseless death of one of history's greatest minds. The story of Archimedes and the siege of Syracuse is a timeless testament to the power of human ingenuity. It shows how one person's mind can be a more formidable weapon than any army. While Rome's legions conquered the city, it was the genius of Archimedes that conquered history, leaving behind a legend that continues to inspire and fascinate us over 2,000 years later. His machines may have turned to dust, but his legacy is indestructible. Thanks for watching, and ring the bell so you never miss another story from history. See you next time.